Welcome to the video. I'm going to teach you how to study and practice and actually get good at art. If you're constantly being told, practice the fundamentals, that's how you get good, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I know the fundamentals, but I'm still bad. Watch this video, it'll probably help you. The answer is specificity, study your references, don't just use them as references in whatever you're painting, and you will get really, really good at the things that you want to paint. Stay around and I will explain exactly how to do it. I also have a document on my Patreon telling you how to do it. It is not free, but this video is, and covers all of it. All right, let's get into it. How not to use references. If you're doing an illustration and you're pulling up a reference to find something that you can't draw and you're trying to match it to the illustration and you're trying to control lighting and perspective, then you will get okay results if you know the fundamentals. And if you don't, it's going to look like crap, but you should be practicing the fundamentals anyway, and this video is not for you. If you know the fundamentals, that's still not the best way to use references because you are focusing on the superficial details and your powers of observation in order to manipulate the reference onto your illustration. And you're doing that through observation and fundamental knowledge. But you're not really learning how to draw the thing because you're trying to copy every single detail in an attempt to get it to look right. The way to do it is to find the reference and then put it in a separate document and study it, and not just study by trying to create an exact replica of it, but by trying to study the underlying structure. And to do that, you pull up the image and you pull up the blank space that you're going to draw on and you draw it next to the image. And while you're drawing it, you take notes. And you take notes not based on the color notes or anything that is superficial or anything that is limited to the reference that you're looking at. So for instance, if you're drawing a pair of Nike shoes and there is a red mark on the Nike shoes, you don't say, shoe has red mark. No. Write down laces cross and they alternate. One is on top and then the other is on top and then the other is on top, whatever. You write down notes that are important to the structure of the thing. Or like the bottom lace is horizontal. It's not crosses all the way up. You know, something like that. Something structural to the thing that you're drawing. Take notes. Once it looks right, cover them both. Don't look at them. Don't throw them away. Keep them, but don't look at them. Draw a third one, relying on your notes and what you remember, and it's going to look like crap. And then try to make it as best you can, structure-wise, like a sketch and maybe some light coloring and shading to show the form. Then you look at your notes and the image and the painting or drawing that you drew while referencing the thing. Pull everything up again that you hid. Pull that up. Look at the differences. Find out what the differences are. In my case, it was the tension lines for the hood that were straight, going from like the shoulder up to the neck and then up to the spot on the head. When I wrote the note, I told myself tension lines go to a point and they're straight. And what I failed to realize that that's only true on sharp edges, and because the head is round, the tension lines go to the nearest point that it hangs off of. So if you were to continue those lines into infinity, they would not all go to one single point perfectly. They go to like slightly different points. You fix it best you can. Once you have all of that done and it looks like 80% good and you're like, yeah, I'm happy with this now, I fixed it, you're done. Because if you can squeeze another 20% out of it and you can do it 2, 3, 4, 20 more times, but if you want to maximize getting things done, like finished and learning, you're done. One is good enough for the most part, if you've got it down. If you don't have it down and you're like, I can't get this, do another one. If you still can't get it, you probably need to practice the fundamentals, and I'm sorry that you're listening to that after I told you that people telling you that is usually wrong, but you probably do need to practice fundamentals because a lot of this is intuition and observation. You're combining your intuitive knowledge, which should be intuitive at this point, of the fundamentals and your skills of observation to deconstruct a thing to its structure and then reconstruct it. That's important. It's deconstruction, reconstruction, right? You're taking apart the pyramid and you're building it back up. And if you build it back up and it's a prism, then you don't understand what a pyramid is. So talk to someone who is better than you, that you have access to, even if they're only slightly better, and struggle through it. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm not there. But you should be able to fix it and it should look good. Once you do that, go back to your illustration or the thing you were making and then draw it from active memory, and you'll get probably about 40% of the way there, and then you'll start slowing down and you'll feel uncomfortable because you're thinking, wait, am I doing the right thing? And then you can pull up the reference. And it should probably be the same reference, but if you chose a reference that doesn't really apply to your illustration, why would you do that? Because that was the whole point. But if you did that, then, pull up another reference and work with it. And if it looks wrong, then you got to do the whole process over again where you use the reference that you were going to use in the illustration and practice with this, right? If you found a shoe reference that you were going to use, you should have studied that, not just found a random, like a ballerina's slipper when you're trying to draw a leather boot. Yeah, take the same reference. Why would you cripple yourself like that? Don't do that, imaginary person. Or wherever you're like starting to slow down and you're like, I don't know where to go from here, and it's starting to feel wrong and I'm kind of making guesses, then you can pull up the reference and it's okay because you've studied it. And the point of active recall is not to remember everything perfectly, it's to learn and understand and make yourself a little bit better than you were an hour ago. And you can do this probably 7, 8, 10, 50 times for every illustration if you really want to, but it's going to take you until you die to finish that illustration, so don't do it. This illustration that I'm making here, I thought it was awesome. I knew I should have probably done that for a lot of things in here, like the shoes and the tunic and the pants and the tree and literally every definable object in here. But I only did it for the tunic because it looked so bad that I was even embarrassed that I was drawing it. Anyway, I found that it's probably best to do this like once or twice or however much you have patience for, but understand the more you do it, the less likely you are to finish the illustration you're working on. So for me, it's like once, maybe twice, but for this one it was once because I do not like rendering large illustrations like this. The tutorial's over, by the way. This is just me rambling, so you can leave now. For me, illustrations are boring, and they're boring because they take so long. This one took like 6 hours according to the Krita recorder, but I don't believe that, because that doesn't include the study time for the other reference, and it also doesn't include any time I was not actively drawing, so it's probably closer to like 10 hours. That sucks. Spending 10 hours on one illustration. But yeah, do it as much as you have the patience for, and give yourself some room for error, because I can definitely see, at least myself, if I did this for the shoes, and then the pants, and then the tunic, and then the tree, and then be upset that it doesn't look good, and then I would close the Krita window, and then I would never reopen this illustration again, and then 4 years later I would find it and I would go, oh, never finished that, did I? And then I would go back to my soul-sucking 9-to-5 job and cry. So definitely only do as much as you have patience for. This is really the only way to get good that I've found. Break things down structure-wise and figure out how to reconstruct them, and then apply it to your work. Don't just look at it as you paint, because you're just relying on observation and you're not understanding how those things actually work and how they should be constructed to be constructed efficiently. You need the armature. You need the steel beams for the building before the bricks go up, or the 2x4s before the drywall goes up. You need some sort of frame, and that's what you're trying to find. And that's a skill too. 2 weeks from now, I could say, yeah, that was all bullshit, and actually this is the better way to do it, but the second best thing is to mentor yourself and find little chunks of things that you don't understand and deconstruct and then reconstruct. And using this method of active deconstruction while you're looking at the resource, and then active recall where you're not looking at the resource, is how you internalize that knowledge. Probably. Again, I've literally done this once. I'm sure I've done it before, but to my memory, this is the only time where I've done it and applied it intentionally, and I wrote out like a structure to it. Good luck.